The radical. Fundamental principles of freedom, rational self-interest, and individual rights. This is the Yaron Brook Show.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Yaron Brook Show on this crazy Friday, February 28th, the day that will go down in, I guess, infamy. Although I have to smile because it's so nutty, it's hard even to believe. Yes, if you're on the fence about Trump until now, maybe some sanity will breach you today. Maybe, I don't know. But all hell broke loose today at the in the White House. God, it's hard to believe how awful Trump and Vance is the villain in this story. How bad Trump and Vance can be. It is mind-boggling. But on the other hand, I predicted it. I told you. I've been telling you this for 8-9 years now, and it just imploded in our faces over the last hour. I don't know if you've seen this, but you will. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it in a minute. We'll talk about the Oval Office meeting between President Trump, J.D. Vance, and Zelensky that turned into a kind of a yelling match. Wow. All right. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about other stuff as well. I promise. We're going to talk about a positive story, an exciting story, I think, with a lot of potential for positivity anyway. And that is the story about Jeff Bezos and the Washington Post. Best used Jeff Bezos reorienting the editorial page, at least, of the Washington Post, and and we'll talk about that. I think potentially very exciting news. Tazy says, "Poor Zelensky." My view is, poor us, poor Americans, poor world that have to tolerate another 4 years of this. It's only just begun, people. It's only in its first month or so. Tate Brothers, if you're a fan of the Tate Brothers, they have now left Romania and are neighbors of yours, maybe, in Florida. Lock your women up, certainly your young daughters. Make sure they're not anywhere close. But the Tate Brothers have been released by Romanian authorities for, at least for now. They've been given travel permission. Supposedly they're going back to Romania in a month to participate in a trial. But it seems like the Trump administration, high priority, much more important than Ukraine, managed to put pressure on the Romanians to get them released. And they're in Florida. DeSantis not too happy about this, but young Republicans, insane about this. They want to invite Andrew Tate to come and speak before them. I wonder if there'll be any women in the audience when they do. So we'll talk about that. Talk about creeps. Jeffrey Epstein's files were released today, and there was no new information in them. And a lot of stuff redacted, and people are really wondering what the hell is going on. Trump promised to release the Epstein files, and so far nothing new. The Attorney General is still searching for them, figuring out what she can release probably without hurting a president too much. And then we'll talk about the budget resolution passed by Congress, just a quickie on how much money it actually cuts from the deficit and how it takes into account everything the Doge has done. So we'll talk about budget cuts. Yeah, if you believe that, I've got a bridge to sell you. And finally, we'll talk about the Canada election coming up and Donald Trump's impact on that election. Is Donald Trump impacting the election? If we have time, we might also talk about some other stuff like, the fact that GDP might be shrinking or the economy is slowing significantly, and suddenly Elon Musk doesn't like GDP. We'll talk about potentially something that's not in the news, but is out there, and that is these pro-Hamas demonstrations in American campuses are continuing, particularly Columbia. Columbia's particularly bad. It's particularly bad because it won't deal with the problem, because the administration completely capitulates to these thugs. And anyway, we'll talk about that. So potentially talk about that. So we got a lot to cover. But we have to start with today. So I was going to talk about Zelensky's visit to the White House, and it started out pretty well. I mean, it looked like Trump had pivoted to a more balanced position, maybe even a slightly pro-Ukrainian position, which I think J.D. Vance really, really disliked the pivot and made sure it didn't last. Anyway, I was going to talk about Donald Trump, how two-faced he is, and how he constantly changes his mind, and you never know what he's actually going to do. And he might be one week is pro-Ukraine and 1 week is anti-Ukraine. And supposedly he got his minerals deal, and Zelensky was coming to the White House to sign the deal, the minerals deal. And Trump went out and met Zelensky when his car drove up, something I don't think he did for Macron. And he did it for Zelensky, a sign of respect that the president actually comes out and greets you. And then they go and there's this kind of press conference that they sit in the Oval Office with reporters around, and they chat, and then they get questions from the reporters yelled at them. And it looks like it's going fairly well. I mean, Zelensky's, correcting the president here and there, but he's learned from Macron, and it seems like it's flowing and it's going. And, Trump is making fun of how Zelensky is dressed, which is just, how can you say it's stupid? But he does. And then a reporter asks, why don't you wear a suit? Do you even own a suit? And Zelensky says, I will wear a suit. And this is a great answer, a heroic answer in my view. And he says, I will wear a suit after the war ends. Maybe something like your suit, or maybe something better. I don't know. Anyway, but Trump makes fun of the fact that he's not wearing a suit, although he says it's okay, and he kind of smiles. And, I mean, it looks like it's kind of okay. They're kind of doing okay. Everything looks like, they're going to sign this minerals deal, and Trump, after a few days of kind of shifting a little bit. I mean, he even said today, I had this quote. He even said today, at some point, he said, it was today or yesterday, he said, did I ever say? Somebody asked him, and he said, did I say that Zelensky is a dictator? I don't think I ever said that. I don't remember saying that. Right? He even withdrew, as Trump does, right? Lies about something he's already said that's on tape and everybody knows he said it. He lies about that, but I don't remember ever saying that. I didn't say that. He even did that. So it really looked like he was prepping himself to, mellow down, and minerals deal, he's the deal maker, this is deal time, and everything is going to be great. And God, these people are nuts. Yes, just so you know, I'm pro-Ukraine, 100%. If you don't know that, I don't know where you've been sleeping under some rock. Go watch my talk that I gave a year and a half ago on Ukraine, where I go into deep dive into why I'm pro-Ukraine. I've talked about this from day one. I've been discussing the Ukraine situation. So there's 2.5 years of material of me being pro-Ukraine and why I'm pro-Ukraine. But anyway, so it looks like it's going fairly well. And, Zelensky's pushing back a little bit. And you can see Trump's getting a little testy. But he's about to wrap up. They're about to wrap up this portion, I guess, to go back and sign the deal, the minerals deal. And God, and here's where it completely goes bonkers. I mean, completely goes off the rail, and in such a disgusting and despicable way that I'd be embarrassed and a little ashamed of voting for this team of Trump-Vance. I mean, the ganging up, they ganged up on a guy who's been fighting a war against a much stronger, much bigger, criminal regime that has invaded his country. And these guys are ganging up on him and telling him what he needs to do, what he needs to think, what reality actually is. So it all starts when Trump kind of lets Vance chime in over a disagreement between Zelensky and Trump. And basically, Vance goes into this whole thing about, we tried being tough with Putin. Biden was tough with Putin. He yelled at Putin before the war started. He yelled at Putin during the war. He put sanctions. He was tough on Putin. Where did that get you? It got you nowhere. You're losing. You're losing. Millions of people are dying, and you're losing. So it's time to change tactics. It's time to be nice to Putin. It's time to negotiate with Putin. So then Zelensky kind of comes back. He's not going to just sit there and take it for Vance. I mean, this guy, I know that on the right, particularly, Zelensky's portrayed as some monster that they've discovered just this hard. This guy is a hero. And this kind of guy who stood up to Putin, a thug like Putin, who sent men into battle and seen them die, has saved his country repeatedly. First by saving Kiev, staying in Ukraine when he could have left Ukraine, could have abandoned Ukraine and gone and held a government, overseas, gone around the world, raised the money necessary, and taken back much of the territory the Russians took in the first few weeks of the war. And since then had to watch as hundreds of thousands of his countrymen have died and been injured. Civilian casualties as his infrastructure has been bombed, as his civilian population has been bombed. And with all due respect, the world has stood by and done very little. Putin's ships still carry oil all over the world and sell it. Nobody stopped that. Sanctions, Europe still buys some oil from Russia. Support has been timid. Here's some money. Here's some weapons, but don't use the weapons. You can use them inside Ukraine. Can't use them outside. You can't do this. You can't do that. We're not going to give you tanks. Okay, we'll give you tanks. Not going to give you F-16s. Okay, we'll give you F-16s, but it'll take us 3 years to get them to you. And we won't give you the best missiles, and we won't give you the best ammunition for those F-16s so you can actually use them to actually win. He's been in the thick of things. So he tried to explain to Vance that, wait a minute, this has been going on from 2014. The world did nothing in 2014. The world did nothing in 2015. There were ceasefires, which Putin has broken several times. The United States did nothing between 2016 and 2020 when Trump was president to fix this. Everybody's standing strong. That wasn't really standing up to Putin. That wasn't being tough on Putin, really. So he did this, and then Vance just lost it. He called him disrespectful. How dare you criticize the United States in the sacred office? Then he says things like, it's unbelievable. There are no men in Ukraine. And Zelensky says, have you been to Ukraine? Do you want to come to Ukraine and see? Have you been to Ukraine? And Vance says, no, but I've seen videos. Literally. You can't get enough men to fight. You can't, and then he says, he basically is implying, you can't win this. You should stop fighting. Now, who the F are you to tell another country to stop fighting for their own freedom, for their own liberty? I'm sure the French, when Adams and Jefferson went to the French to try to get them to get involved on the American side against the British, probably told them, in the beginning, why are you even doing this? You're going to lose. You should stop fighting. Now, I'm not comparing the U.S. to Ukraine, the founding of America to Ukraine. But the point is, you don't tell the people fighting against an aggressor, fighting against a monstrous dictator, fighting to preserve their country, to preserve. I thought Vance and Trump were pro-patriot, right? You can't win this. You're gambling with millions of lives, Trump's telling him. You're gambling with World War III. So now all the hysteria around World War III is coming to the forward, which the right has been trying to create. You can't win this. You're not winning this. I can't do business like this, Trump says to him. You don't have any of the cards. You have to be more thankful. You have to thank us. You have to kiss our knees. Come down, kiss our feet, kiss our asses. I don't know what this is Vance and Trump now ganging up on him. They're both. And he's sitting there, he's trying to fight back. It's an unbelievably unmitigated disaster. And then Trump says in the middle, this is going to be a tough deal to make because of the attitudes. The attitudes need to change. That's right. The attitude here. Nick says you lost the war you were on. Face reality. Really? Do you see troops in Kiev? I don't. Russia has today 19.2% of Ukrainian territory, about the same it had in April 2022. How's that going for the Russians? How many men have Russians lost? How is the economy in Russia going? 20%, 15% inflation, 20+% interest rates, 9-point-something% of GDP of Russia now is defense spending. How's that going for the Russians? Yes, Ukraine, without the military support that it needs, that it should have gotten from the West, cannot win this. It can bleed the Russian until maybe it becomes so painful for Russia that it has to stop. With proper support from the West, Ukraine can kick the Russians back to Moscow. But you guys who've been apologists for Putin, who love the dictator, love the authoritarian, even if Ukraine's lost, isn't it Ukraine's decision to declare itself lost? It's America gets to decide for other countries when they win and when they lose? America gets to decide when a country should surrender? I wish I was in that room to defend him. I would never, why would I ever go in a room like that? I mean, poor Zelensky. As it is, in my view, I'll take Zelensky over Trump, Vance any day in any kind of rough and tumble. You want a war president? I'll take Zelensky 1,000 times over Trump and Vance. Yeah, might makes right. That's the morality of you, Nick. You can have that morality. You can go and stuff that morality, right? Might makes right is not morality. Might makes right is evil. You want to make America evil? Make America evil for the first time. Trump is moving in that direction. He's quite good at this. Anyway, right after the meeting, President Trump posts on his social media. He says it's a statement from President Donald Trump. Quote, we had a very meaningful meeting in the White House today. Much was learned that could never be understood without conversation under such fire and pressure. You think this is fire and pressure? Go be in Kiev as Russian special forces are trying to find a way to assassinate you. You want to be under fire and pressure? Be in Kiev as Russian troops seem to be surrounding the city and refuse to evacuate. You stay there in order to manage the fight. Want to be under pressure? Rally the Ukrainian people to fight against a much larger, much better equipped Russian army. He thinks this is under fire? He should debate me sometimes. Pathetic. It's amazing, this says Trump. It's amazing what comes through emotion. Yeah, it is. And I have determined that President Zelensky is not ready for peace if America is involved, because he feels our involvement gives him a big advantage in negotiations. That doesn't make any sense. But anyway, that's Trump logic. Now, I think Zelensky is not ready for peace. I don't think Ukraine is ready for peace. I don't think peace should be or is on the table. One of the things I was going to mention as Trump was cozying up to Zelensky is that Putin has basically made clear over the last 2 weeks that he has no interest in peace. He has no interest in a ceasefire. He has no interest in a deal. Trump keeps on. I don't take advantage. I want peace. He disrespected the United States of America and its cherished Oval Office. He can come back when he is ready for peace. Well, the person who disrespected the Oval Office was Trump and Vance. They disrespected the Oval Office. They were the one that picked the fight. They were the ones who created this. They were the ones who disrespected a president in the midst of a war, an ally in the midst of a war with an enemy of the United States. They should be ashamed. They should go find some place and, bury themselves out of shame. It is infuriating that this is what has become of the United States of America. This is what has become of American foreign policy. You could see poor Rubio was sitting in the audience, and you could just see him sinking in his chair, sinking. Rubio, in some part of his brain that hasn't yet been shut down by Trump zombie syndrome, as many of the people in this chat's brain has been shut down by Trump zombie syndrome. Marco Rubio has a portion of the brain that hasn't been shut down, realized what was going on and what a betrayal this was to American values, to American principles, a country fighting for freedom against an authoritarian thug who hates America and who wants control over Europe. Our allies is treated this way in the Oval Office, is ambushed by the President of the United States and his Vice President. Just unthinkable behavior, beneath contempt. If the President wants to withdraw funding from Ukraine, so be it. This kind of treatment is worse. God. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how. I don't know how you recover from a foreign policy perspective from this. Here's Garry Kasparov, who I have a lot of respect for, the great Russian chess champion and critic of Putin for what, 20 years now? A real man of, I think, on issues of Russia and issues of freedom, a man of principle, not like some of the people here. He writes, Zelensky is a wartime leader, watching his people suffer and die under a Russian attack every day. To be lectured and lied to by Trump and Vance as they defend the war criminal dictator committing these atrocities is unimaginable agony, an everlasting shame for America. I think he's absolutely right. Absolutely right. Nobody, this is the argument. People say, oh no, we just want to see the killing stop. Well, yeah, the easy way to stop the killing is to tell Putin to stop. The war stops when Putin stops. The war stops when the bully stops. The war stops when people retreat. When the aggressor is either defeated or withdraws his aggression. But none of you care about, it's as if Vance and Trump care more about Ukrainians than Zelensky. That is the biggest lie possible, or that you, Nick, care one iota about people dying in Ukraine. You don't deceive me. You don't care one iota. You've been zombified by Trump. You care more about Putin and his victory than you do about any innocent lives, anybody's lives. And the idea that Trump and Vance care, or anybody on the right in America, care about innocent civilians. This is why they want to stop the war, because enough people have died. Really, that Elon Musk cares about Ukrainians? I don't believe that for a moment. For a moment. Elon Musk, like the rest of the right, have come to the conclusion that Putin is the good guy. And they want to find an elegant way to solve this without actually having to admit to the American people that Putin is the good guy. You guys pretend to care. Yeah, right. Have you ever been to Ukraine? You don't care about Ukrainians. Vance doesn't care about Ukrainians. He knows he knows everything he knows about Ukraine from memes, like Elon Musk. The two of them know everything they know about Ukraine from memes and I don't know, internet videos created by right-wing nuts. That's what they know about Ukraine. But they care about the civilians. They want the killing to stop. That is such a bold-faced lie. They don't care one iota about them. And you think that they care more about Ukrainian civilians than the Ukrainians do? A parliament in Ukraine just voted unanimously to reaffirm Zelensky as president and reaffirm the decision of martial law, which commits him to no election until the war is over. A parliament, even the entire opposition, and there's a vast opposition in Ukraine, people who don't like Zelensky, voted for it. But no, they don't care. They don't care about Ukrainian civilians dying. The only people who care about Ukrainian civilians dying are the right-wing, American right-wingers. Zelensky, Vance, Trump, and Elon Musk. They're the ones who care about Ukrainians. Nobody else does. What a frigging lie. What a deception. What out-and-out fraud against the American people. Just say it. You want to suck up to Putin? There's a lot to be gained by sucking up to Putin. You really believe Putin represents Western civilization, you and Jordan Peterson. And as a consequence, you want to be friends with Putin, and you don't want to antagonize Putin, and you want an economic deal with Putin, and you have geopolitical interests together with Putin. Just admit it. But look, there's an easy way to tell who the good guys here and who the bad guys are. And America should support the good guys, even if the good guys are losing. America should support them, at least morally, even if they're losing. You look at the kind of country they have. And Putin is a dictator. There's no criticizing Putin. When people go out into the streets in Russia to demonstrate against the war, they get arrested and thrown in jail. There is no press, any semblance of free press in Russia. Putin is brutal. All the wealth in Russia is in the hands of a few oligarchs. Now, Ukraine is no bastion of liberty and freedom, but it's moving in the right direction. It's moving towards the West. Its people want to be Western. Nick doesn't want people to die over land. You don't care one iota about people. You don't care one iota about people. You don't want people to die about the land. If Russia invades Alaska tomorrow, you don't want people to die about the land, so just hand Alaska to Russia. That's okay. People shouldn't die over land. This is what happens when people get mindless. They don't care about humanity. They don't care about freedom. They don't care. What they care about is appeasing the powers to be. They care about their strong men and making sure to mimic the strong men. Yes, this is always what they say. You go fight then, says Nick. I've done my fighting. I don't know if you have, Nick, but I have. I've been in war. I don't think you have, by the way you're expressing yourself. I don't want to fight for Ukraine. I don't mind sending some dollars to help them fight for themselves because I value freedom. And I am fighting. What I'm doing now is fighting. This is the fight that matters in the end. Because one more body, one less body ain't going to matter. But ideas. Yeah, Nick's not that dumb to go fight. Not for his country. God forbid. He should fight for his freedom, his liberty, his home. He doesn't want that. He just wants to be left alone. He just wants to embrace his pacifism And when the bad guys come and enslave him, he'll have nobody but himself to blame. Now he says he's fighting with a podcast no one listened to. You're listening? What are you doing here, Nick? God, these people are crazy. All right. Vance at some point says, I think I mentioned this, quote, "You have no people. There are no men in Ukraine." Zelensky says, "Come and see." Vance is not taking him up on the offer, funnily enough. Trump says, "You either make a deal or we are out." There we go. I think they're out. And I'm with Cliff Asness. Cliff tweets, "If it came down to a fight, I'll take the guy on the left, Zelensky, versus both at once." I'm with Cliff. The ambassador of Ukraine looks completely dejected and depressed. So does poor Marco Rubio. But a shameful day for the United States. Mightiest country in the world, strongest economy in the world, strongest military force in the world, has the capacity to really sway things one way or the other on a global scale. The most powerful politician in the world. And they gang up on a guy who spent the last 3 years trying desperately to defend his country from a monster. And the best of the United States of America, the land of the free, the home of the brave, the shining city on the hill can do, is gang up on him and try to make him look small and try to convince him that he needs them. President of Poland, on the other hand, Donald Tusk, who is, Donald Tusk is, sorry, not the president, Donald Tusk is the prime minister of Poland, on the other hand, immediately at the end of the press conference, tweets to Zelensky, "Dear Zelensky, dear Ukrainian friends, you are not alone." So at least you have Poland on your side, because you know what? Poland still has a sense of who the good guys and who the bad guys are in the world. Poland still has a sense of decency. This is when people can't argue. They can't actually make an argument. So what they do, and you'll see this all over Twitter, all over argumentation, and all over my thread, is if you like Ukraine so much, go fight with them. What's the one got to do with the other? It's a completely change of topic. It shows intellectual weakness. But it's also an argument they've just learned from trolls online. Like, it's not something they thought of. It's certainly not original to them. I've been hearing this argument since February 2022, when Ukraine was invaded by Russia. All they can come up with, you go fight, you go fight. It's the dumbest attempt at an argument possible. It is not an argument. Nobody is asking Americans to go fight in Ukraine. Nobody is demanding that. Nobody is requesting that. Zelensky has never made that request. But it's a sign of moral, but more importantly, intellectual weakness. I mean, Hanania calls people, the people on the right, MAGA, low human capital, and he's right. I mean, not smart people. This is the argument they use. You go fight. They did this with Israel. Those who didn't support the United States supporting Israel. You go fight. Why should we support it? You go fight. All right. So, a new low for the Trump administration, a new low for Donald Trump, and for J.D. Vance, and again, J.D. Vance is the one who I think J.D. Vance said it, was sitting on the sideline and going, "This is going too well for Zelensky. I better interject here to get this off course. And he succeeded. He succeeded. J.D. Vance won the day. All right. I'll just say what I've been saying for weeks now. The Europeans better get their act together. It's a horrific condition to be in, where I think world peace and stability and sanity depends on European governments. That is a strange statement to make. But now that the United States is lost with this current president, I think it really is up to the Europeans. I mean, they really need to take this seriously. They really need they need an economic boost. They could get that easily by massive deregulation in energy, but really across the board in business formation. They would, and then they need to invest in a European-wide military force. And whether they will do that, I am skeptical. Probably not, but it's in their backyard. The threat is right there. The threat is theirs. At the end of the day, this is mainly Europe's responsibility, far less so a responsibility of the United States. Oh, on Twitter, they're linking to this video, right? The bad guys. And he's saying, what a strange leftist rant from the chairman of the Ayn Rand Institute. This is leftism. If you criticize the president of the United States for stabbing somebody fighting for freedom in the back, that now is leftist. In other words, the key is, if you disagree with Trump, you are a leftist. That is the state of the American right. That is the state of Trump zombie syndrome. That's the new terminology. It's Trump zombie syndrome. Call it the woke right. Some people call it the woke right. I don't know if it's a woke right. Maybe it is, but it is definitely zombie-like. Zombie-like. Similar to the left zombiness. The left zombiness. All right. All right, let's see. There's some good news, though. Let's put all this aside. Let's do some good news. And the first piece of good news is that my course for the Peterson Academy on capitalism is now live. And if you haven't seen the trailer, check out the trailer. The trailer is amazing. You can find it online. You can find it on Twitter. Just search a Peterson Academy on my account. They've done a phenomenal job of editing this. You will see when you watch this thing, the high production quality that this course has. It's well over 8 hours, because I saw the first lecture alone is an hour 20, and I think they've included some of the Q&A that I had with some of the people present. If I say so myself, I'm in top form, energetic, passionate, walking around. You know, you won't find a better, more articulate defense of capitalism that this course has in any course online. So go online, find the trailer, and then if you want to listen to the course, you actually have to sign up at the Peterson Academy. I'm not sure how much it costs. You can let me know, maybe something like $40 a month or something like that. But go sign up, $140, watch my course, and then my finance course might come out in March or early April, so you could probably pay for a couple of months and watch both courses. I think they're really good. But I think what will impress you with the trailer is the extent to which the production values are good, and secondly, I think the energy level of the speaker is quite good. So check it out. No, it's not Responsible Citizenship YouTube channel. It's not on YouTube. Check it out on just petersonacademy.com, petersonacademy.com, or go to Twitter and search at Peterson Academy, one word, and you can find it. There it is. Miroslav is just giving you the link. I'm excited by it. I'm seeing a lot of positive comments from people already taking the course. I'm hoping thousands of people. I also saw a massive uptick, well, not massive, but a big, hundreds, uptick in Twitter following because of the course. So probably 300 additional people are following me on Twitter one day after the course went live. So I think that is good. I'm hoping. Oh, here's a favor you guys can all do for me. Those of you so inclined to do me a favor. Here's a favor you could do for me. It would be great if you went to the Peterson Academy Twitter page, Twitter feed, and under the what do you call it? Trailer, the trailer from our course, liked it. You know, I like likes, and ideally retweeted it and commented on it. If you could comment, this is great that you're using Yaron for this. Yaron's a really good speaker. Whatever you want to say. Negative comments welcome as well. For those of you who hate me, you can do that too. But just interact with it would be great. I mean, it would be really, really good if, and then of course, if you go and sign up at the Peterson Academy, that would be phenomenal. But for now, if you just give them some positive vibes, because I'm trying to get them to hire me to do more of these. I think we all benefit if I can do more of these. It will be, it's super, it could be super exciting. It would be super beneficial to me personally if you guys just went then on Twitter and just commented and shared and liked. That it would just really help. Miroslav has put the link to the Twitter account right there in the chat for anybody who wants to access it. All right, before the meeting between Zelensky and Trump went off the rails, I was going to lead with the Washington Post Jeff Bezos story, which I think could be long-term, maybe the most important story in a long, long time, and a crucial story. Thank you, Bond. James Bond, for the 100 pounds. I really appreciate that. By the way, I'm going to be, he reminded me because of, and then we'll get to the actual story I want to talk about. I'm going to be in the UK next month in March. And I was, and this is to Bond and anybody else in the UK right now. I want to do like a seminar for you guys. I'm thinking of doing something on being an egoist, of Yaron's rules for life, maybe something on sex, relationships, love, power dynamics, self-esteem, topics like that. Thinking of doing topics like that. Donna, thank you, Donna. Really appreciate it. On topics like that, on London on March 29th at our Saturday, maybe 6 hours, maybe like a seminar format, a lot of back and forth, a lot of interaction, stuff like that. And I'm curious if you guys are interested, if there's interest in something like that. I'm going to put together a short description and a short description and a title and everything. But if you guys have ideas, topics that you would like, and be willing to, now you have to pay, willing to pay, I don't know, maybe $100 an hour, maybe $500, $600 for the day for this. And if I can get 5 to 10 people, it's worth my while, I will do it. So that would be this is not related to any other organization. This is just me. It's not related to anybody else. You're dealing with me, and that's all. You're dealing with book media. You're on Book Show. So that'll be on March 29th, on Saturday, March 29th. If there's interest out there, anybody who has ideas, topics, but is generally favorable and generally interested, drop me an email, yaron@yaronbrookshow.com, yaron@yaronbrookshow, or message me on Twitter, or not Facebook, Twitter or email are the best way to reach me. And yeah, let's see if we can put something together. It'd be fun. Maybe we can also do a Yaron Brook Show meetup, kind of as an aside, which will not cost anybody anything. But let's see if we can get some people to come to the seminar that I'm thinking of doing on March 29th, Saturday, March 29th, 5-6 hours of interaction with me on topics that that you would like to discuss, but mainly about how to live a better life. How to live a better life. All right, let's keep going. All right, so Washington Post, Jeff Bezos, huge story. I'm going to read you. I'm going to read you from Jeff Bezos's post. This is a letter that he sent to the Washington Post team a couple of days ago, and I think this has, a lot of upside, a lot of positive potential for the cause of freedom and liberty, and for the cause of actually reversing the damage that is being done to this country every single day for 100 years now, and that is being accelerated by the current administration. This is what Jeff Bezos writes. And remember, the Washington Post, he owns it. He bought it years ago. Washington Post is generally considered a pretty left-wing publication. It's got some of the most awfully left-wing reporting in the country. It's got an editorial page that's pretty left. It's got one free market guy, George Will, who's excellent, but just one. An anti-Trump free market guy, not surprisingly. But that is all. They have nothing else. Okay, I'm quoting from Jeff Bezos. I'm ready to let you know about a change coming to our opinion pages. Opinion pages, I will emphasize. We are going to be writing every day in support and defense of two pillars: personal liberties and free markets. We'll cover other topics too, of course, but viewpoints opposing those pillars will be left to be published by others. Whoa, that is huge. The Washington Post are committing every day to publishing editorials, op-eds on personal liberty and free markets. Wow. I continue from what he wrote. There was a time when a newspaper, especially one that was a local monopoly, might have seen it as a service to bring the reader's doorstep every morning a broad-based opinion section that sought to cover all views. Today, the internet does that job. And this is amazing, this formulation. I love this formulation. I am of America and for America, and proud to be so. I'm going to repeat that. I am of America and for America, and proud to be so. Our country did not get here by being typical. And a big part of America's success, his success, right, has been freedom in the economic realm and everywhere else. Freedom is ethical. It minimizes coercion and practical. It drives creativity, invention, and prosperity. Now that is stunning. This is not some America First bromide stupidity. I was born in this country, therefore it's the best, as so many out there have, right? This is the identification of what makes America unique. What makes America unique? And what makes America unique is freedom in the economic realm and everywhere else. That is freedom. Now, when was the last time you heard Trump talk about freedom? Never. And Ukraine example is a good example. They're fighting for their freedom against a brutal dictatorship. You won't hear Trump talk about freedom. When do they talk about freedom domestically? Or even free markets? How about personal liberties? No, these topics never come up. Maybe, Rand Paul or one or two House members once in a while mention the word freedom. But here is one of the richest men in the world, the second or third richest in America, actually saying that I'm of America and for America, but then he tells you what America is. A big part of America's success has been freedom in the economic realm and everywhere else. And then he tells us the moral is the practical, which is a stunning statement that can only come from one author. Just saying. Her influence is here. Freedom is ethical. It minimizes coercion. And practical. It drives creativity, invention, and prosperity. Absolutely. Absolutely, Jeff. One of the best statements I've seen from a business leader in a long, long, long time. Can't think, last time John Allison made a public statement. This is comes in second, I guess. John Allison's much better. And on energy stuff, we've seen some really good statement. But this, from somebody of Bezos' stature and wealth, is pretty amazing. Now, you can complain about why it took him so long. Yeah, good question. Or alternatively, you could celebrate that he did it. Now, we'll get to the question of why he did it now in a minute, because I'm sure many of you think he did it to suck up to Trump, and maybe he did, and we'll find out in the months to come, because the only way you can defend personal liberties and free markets is to attack Trump, criticize Trump policies, criticize tariffs, criticize, the lack of deregulation, criticize his economic ignorance. So we'll see if Bezos is willing to have that published on the pages of the Washington Post, because you have to criticize Trump policies if you're going to really stand for personal liberties and free markets. So we'll see. I'm going to go on and say, this is from Bezos' post. I offered David Shipley, who I greatly admire, the opportunity to lead this new chapter. David Shipley is the current editor of the opinion page in the Washington Post. I suggested to him that if the answer wasn't hell yes, then it had to be no. That is, if you're not passionate about this new direction, you should leave. After careful consideration, David decided to step away. Good for Shipley. Good for his integrity. This is not what he wants. He doesn't believe in this. Walking away. Good for him. This is a significant shift. It won't be easy, and it will require 100% commitment. I respect his decision. We'll be searching for a new opinion editor to own this new direction. Just so everybody knows, I am available, although I'm not sure I'd be a very good opinion editor, but I am available, and I would learn on the job. I'd hire as my deputy Don Watkins, and I think together we'd be amazing at this job. He goes on, I'm confident that free markets and personal liberties are right for America. I also believe these viewpoints are underserved in the current market of ideas and news opinions. No kidding. I'm excited for us together to fill that void. Jeff. Now, you can complain, you can nitpick, but the reality is he's finally stood up. Maybe he should have done it when he first bought the Washington Post. Yes. But he's done it. Better late than never. Maybe John Galt came to him in the middle of the night last night, or maybe he read Atlas Shrugged again, or maybe, who knows? But he's made the shift. So let's reject it because he should have done it earlier. Yeah, not going to get excited because he should have done it earlier. Now, the real question is he doing this to suck up to Trump? I don't think so. This is not the language you would use if you were going to suck up to Trump. You would say something about making America great again, or America first, or some stupid thing like that. You would not be as clear and unequivocal as personal liberties and free markets. You would not talk about what made America great was freedom in economic realm and everywhere else. Freedom, being ethical. Ethical. I don't think that appeals to Trump. And practical. Associating freedom with minimizing coercion, associating ethical with minimizing coercion. That's all good stuff. So I think this could be huge. No, I could be wrong. I could be naive. It could be that he's just turning the paper into a Trump vehicle. I don't think so. I don't think Jeff Bezos, who gave us Amazon, who's one of the great, unequivocally one of the great entrepreneurs of the 20th century, certainly of the late 20th century, one of the great innovators, built an unbelievable business, not just in terms of Amazon delivery, the stuff you buy, but also, cloud computing, really invented cloud computing. The fact that we have the server farms, the cloud computing that we have today, all of that is Amazon. this, what he created here is truly a magnificent company. Now, he's left, and maybe it's not quite as good as it used to be, unquestionably. And as you go big, it's very hard to manage a big company. But the reality is, this is one of the great entrepreneurs of the 20th century and 21st century, and it's fantastic for him to say this. Now, here's the other way of interpreting this, because I don't think this is to suck up to Trump, but what I do think this is, and maybe this explains why he didn't do this earlier, is that he might have been intimidated in the past by the politics of it. So certainly while he was running Amazon, it might have been that he didn't have the Washington Post actually express his views because, assuming his free market views are real, because he didn't want to antagonize Obama and first Trump and then Biden. Remember that, Trump threatened the Washington Post on several occasions to shut them down. So it is, I do think that he might have been held back because of politics. And maybe, the vibe has shifted, as they say. Trump coming in has maybe made it possible, he feels, to come out and state this. Now, again, the real challenge is going to be, if he's serious about this, he will devote real resources to criticizing Trump. Right? And it's we will see what happens. I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes. The Wall Street Journal had interesting comment, and they were like, "Yeah, it's great. We already are for freedom and for free markets and all of that. So welcome to space." The final paragraph in the editorial is, "We'll see if Mr. Bezos' turn signals a larger change in the battle of ideas. But it will be good to have a wingman in the fight. As for our discerning readers, our respectful counsel is, accept no substitutes. Sample the competition, but come back for the real thing." So the Wall Street Journal supposedly is positioning itself there. And mostly, Wall Street Journal editorials can be quite good. They have too often been too nice to Trump, and they've been too often on some issues being anti-freedom and anti-liberty, personal freedom, personal liberty. So we will indeed see maybe a healthy competition between the Wall Street Journal and the Washington Post about who can be more pro-freedom, who could be more pro-free markets and personal liberty. I can't think of anything better. Two, of the most significant newspapers in the country, two newspapers identified as national important media, mainstream media, competing to who can be more free market. Now note this change with regard to the newspaper, and this is true of the Wall Street Journal as well, is regarding the editorial page. It is not regarding the reporters. The Washington Post has some of the most left-wing, anti-American, horrible reporters anywhere. And it'll be interesting to see if this editorial shift actually, affects the reporters as well as everything else. So this will be interesting to see how it affects the reporting, and it'll be interesting to see what exactly actually happens at the editorial page of the Washington Post. Here's Cliff Asness basically reasserting what I suggested about Bezos. Cliff has been on a roll lately, but if you don't follow Cliff on Twitter, follow Cliff Asness on Twitter. He's excellent. Quote, Bezos is roundly criticized on the left for bending the knee to Trump, while they ignore that focusing on free markets and free people is quite obviously moral and economically correct, in my humble opinion. Let me try one other theory on you. Bezos has always believed in these rather obvious truths. It's only that in the prior regimes, for a long time, believing in the obviously fight was cancelable, even for a guy like Bezos. If that's true, it's a wonderful change. Of course, I have no idea if I'm actually right. So anyway, Cliff's opinion on why this change happened. So yeah, Washington Post is maybe on its editorial page open maybe to some editorials by fellows of the Ayn Rand Institute, maybe by Yaron Brook and Don Watkins. We will see. We're certainly going to make an effort in trying to get on its pages and trying to test the theory out and see what happens. Yeah, here's another exciting announcement. I guess I'm putting in good news in the middle between the horrible news. But just this just hit Twitter, and it's good news. So and it's about me. So it looks like the forum at Q. I don't know what the forum at Q is, but it's a debate society kind of lecture society at York University, a pretty left-wing university in the UK. Has invited me to come and give a lecture on the morality of capitalism. They are selling tickets or giving tickets. I don't know if it costs money. As they say in the announcement, this is going to be epic. Please share it and wider reach. Now, I'm going to say something. I hope the bad guys are not listening. But York has got a huge anti-Israel, pro-Palestinian contingency. It is going to be interesting to see if they try to disrupt this event and stop this event. So, but this is going to be exciting. Morality of Capitalism at York University by a major student organization, student group. This is going to be in, when am I going to York? I'm going to York in May, I think. Yes, in May. So this is going to be in May. They're already advertising now. That is a student group on top of things. Usually student groups wait till the last minute to advertise stuff. It is phenomenal to see them doing so quickly. And it's great because Morality of Capitalism, just when my course on capitalism at the Peterson Academy comes out, that combination might get a lot of visibility for this. And hopefully we can get a fantastic turnout for this. Maybe we can get some people even coming in from London to see this. It's going to be a lot of fun and quite exciting. And somebody writes on Twitter, it's frightening how accurate Yaron was on Trump since forever. Trump mindlessness syndrome. Trump's supporters have zero independent thinking. He should. Well, I won't read the rest. It's not language I approve of. Oh my God! All right, let's go to the second outrage of the day from the Trump administration. This one is a doozy. Not quite as rotten to the core as the treatment of Zelensky, but happening at about the same time as Trump is abusing Zelensky, and Zelensky is boldly, courageously fighting back. At about the same time, the Tate Brothers show up in Florida and publicly displaying their freedom, thanks to, by all accounts, seems to be the Trump administration. The Trump administration that so cares about the Ukrainian people. I'm sure it cares about the women and girls who were abused, beaten, and in some cases raped by Andrew Tate. I'm sure they care a lot about the young men whose lives are being destroyed by Tate and his brother, who are teaching them to be horrible, disgusting, irrational human beings. I'm sure they care a lot about the culture that is now celebrating this convert to Islam, who treats women as Islam in the original text teaches it to be. This guy is one of the most disgusting, ugly human beings alive today. Andrew Tate. He is a great should be a great friend of Putin. They are brothers in arms against everything decent in the world today. And the fact that Russia isn't the one liberating Andrew Tate, but it's the United States of America, and the fact that the first place he flew to is Florida. I mean, how do you keep your sanity in this kind of environment? Now, Alina Habba, who is a Trump advisor and was Trump's personal lawyer and now a lawyer in the White House, Alina Habba recently was on a podcast with Andrew Tate with Andrew Tate, where she says, "Oh, it's so nice to meet you. I'm a big fan." MAGA likes Tate. Candace Owen likes Tate. Tucker Carlson likes Tate. I mean, Tate, you can find all the videos in the world that you want where he admits grooming girls and using them for sex, manipulating them, exploiting them, deceiving them, turning them into sex workers for him. He's a pimp, a pornographer. He even has a video online where he talks about pounding a girl's face in and getting away with it. Proud of the fact that he gets away with it. This guy is a monster, claiming that everything bad in the world today is a consequence of the women having a vote. Misogynist, but worse than misogynist. You know, there are plenty of people who are misogynist, but this guy is a real, I can't think of a worse influence on the world today. And again, he is a favorite of MAGA. MAGA, who claims to be Christian. They claim to believe in Christian virtues, in the sanctity of sex, in Christianity over Islam, monogamy. I mean, here's a guy who said, something like, if you have children from the same woman, then you're not a conqueror. Conquerors, which I take him to mean, good. Conquerors have children with lots of women. This is the sample, a materialistic thug. Thug. That's all he is. He's a thug. He's a mobster. And this is MAGA's hero, or at least significant factors within MAGA. This is what Trump expended some political capital pressuring the Romanians to, give him an ability to fly to Florida. Good for DeSantis. Good for DeSantis. I'm not often a, fan of Ron DeSantis, but DeSantis was like, people like Tate have no place in Florida. We don't want him. And yet I saw this ad running. Let me see if I can find the ad. Yeah, there it is. This is ad by Tampa Bay Young Republicans. Tampa Bay Young Republicans. Tampa Bay Young Republicans formally welcome Andrew Tate and his brother to Florida as free speech absolutists. The Tates haven't been formally convicted of any crimes and are welcome to speak to our group. We're old enough to remember when a convicted felon won the presidency. And I've got a big poster with the pictures of the two Tate brothers. In the middle, welcome Andrew Tate to Florida, and formally invites him to speak to our group. No, he's true. He's innocent until proven guilty. On the other hand, all you need to understand what the character of this person is, put aside any crimes he's committed, is watch videos of him. Now, I know there are a lot of frustrated men out there that can't get a date. I know there are a lot of men out there that have no self-esteem and have no sense of masculinity. And I know that they get attracted to Andrew Tate because he gives them some sense of worth. But to the extent that they get sucked in by him, their lives are destroyed. This guy is a monster, an evil monster. Stay away from him. And if the way they treated Zelensky was an embarrassment and a black mark on the Trump administration, I mean, I think Zelensky won that exchange. I think it's why Trump was so upset, because how dare Zelensky fight back? How dare he contradict the vice president of the United States? They're so weak and pathetic, Trump and Vance. So now the second black mark, all in a couple of days, is the release of the Tate brothers and the veneration of Tate by MAGA. You know, I can't think of a political system, you know, of a political ideology that is so as despicable as this, right? As despicable as this. I mean, yeah, he likes to explain how he grabs women by the neck and beats them up. What are they going to do? Break their cheekbone, make them cry. By the way, the United Kingdom also has warrants out for his arrest for rape and other crimes. I think we have an extradition treaty with Britain. It would be interesting to see if Britain applies the extradition treaty and tries to get the United States to send him to the UK. Supposedly, the Tates are going back to Romania in a month. I'll believe it when I see it. But for now, it's just another disgraceful occurrence, which is becoming kind of quite common in the United States of America. Talk about disgrace. So, you know, one of the things that Trump ran on and MAGA gets very excited about is the Epstein Files, Jeffrey Epstein stuff. Isn't it kind of weird that they hate Jeffrey Epstein? They think Jeffrey Epstein was a monster. He was. Unbelievable monster. And they want the files, they want to get the names, they want to get all that because they believe there's some names of left people on the list, of people of the left. So they want the files. But they hate Jeffrey Epstein. Tate, they love. Tate, they love. Jeffrey Epstein, Isn't it interesting? You'd think that if they love Tate, they'd love Jeffrey Epstein. And if they hated Jeffrey Epstein, they'd also hate Tate. But that would require consistency. That would require principles. And here's the principle. There's only one principle that animates MAGA, and indeed that animates Trump. If the left likes it, we hate it. If the left hates it, we love it. The left hates Tate. And the left hates Putin. Okay, we have to love Tate and Putin. Plus, they're strong, masculine men. Jeffrey Epstein was of the left. So we hate Jeffrey Epstein. That's it. To understand MAGA, you just have to understand one principle. It's the anti-left. That's it. I mean, anti-left in the most superficial, ridiculous way. Anyway, one of the promises Trump made was he was going to release the so-called Epstein Files. These are files, supposedly, that the FBI has that identifies all Jeffrey Epstein's clients. And if you want to know more about my views on Jeffrey Epstein, just one of my most watched videos is my commentary on Epstein. You can just look Yaron Brook, Epstein, in YouTube, and you'll find the videos where I talk about this. But it is the case that there are files, supposedly, that name names, that have the lists, that give us everything. And today, the Justice Department released the Epstein Files, right? And guess what? They released the files with nothing new in them. And they didn't release it to journalists. They released it to all kinds of, Twitter grifters. There was nothing in there that we didn't already know. The flight logs, already public information. Contact sheets, public information. All these records have already been seen, already been analyzed, already been discussed. There was no big reveal. Now, supposedly there are more files, and supposedly the Attorney General is looking for them. But it is interesting that all records of Donald Trump, it seems, were redacted. That'll be interesting. Be interesting what happens when they find the rest of the files, if they ever do, and they release them, and maybe it doesn't look too well for a lot of different people. So that is where we're at. The Jeffrey Epstein files. We're exactly where we were before. Donald Trump promised them. Promise not quite fulfilled yet. We'll see if they ever get fulfilled. All right, let's see. I have no evidence. I have lots of evidence. Didn't Epstein videotape everyone as well? That's the claim. Everybody claims he videotapes everyone, but nobody's seen the videotapes. Nobody's found the videotapes. If the Justice Department has the videotapes, they have not released them or not let anybody know they have them. My guess is that Jeffrey Epstein had whatever people he had when he was first arrested destroy those tapes. Those tapes were probably burnt somewhere. I doubt if anybody has them. They're gone, and they're gone because he had. It took a very long time from when he was arrested to when his island was inspected. During that time it took to go to the island, all kinds of shenanigans could have happened. But it's all gone. I mean, I'm hoping that we do get a lot more of the Epstein files about his death and about his clients and all of that. I think the best thing we could do, like in everything, is justice. But then it has to be justice towards everybody, including if those files include people on the right, not just people on the left. And I don't think this Justice Department is capable of actual justice. I think this Justice Department is even more biased than the Justice Departments under Obama and Biden. And as a consequence, I don't think we'll know the truth, not for a long time, about what happened with Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, he was a creep, a disgusting human being. It is truly sad that so many people obviously cooperated with him. Cooperated is one word. Partied is another word. With him. There's no question the Clintons were involved. There's no question that others were involved on that island. We don't have proof, but we have suggestive evidence, flight logs and the such. A lot of people were incredibly friendly with Jeffrey Epstein, had dinners with him. There's a whole list. The list is there. We've all seen the list. And it's ugly. It's ugly in terms of who the people are. Some people have lost their jobs. Some people have lost their careers because of being on that list. Other people hasn't touched you. So it is interesting. All right, let's talk about the budget quickly. So, the Republicans passed a budget resolution. This is a framework for the budget. It got 217 yes votes from Republicans, 1 no vote from a Republican. That was Thomas Massey. And then 214 no votes from Democrats. So it passed the House 217 to 215. The budget resolution, just to give you a sense of the outline, because all this is an outline. It doesn't give any specific anything, really. Here is what Thomas Massey wrote about this, and I agree with Massey on this. On other things I don't, but on this I agree with Massey. The GOP budget resolution that passed the House this week increases the debt limit from 36 trillion to 40 trillion. That means they expect 4 trillion more debt under a Trump administration, in spite of Doge. If they were confident about Doge, wouldn't they not increase the debt limit? If they were going to cut $1 trillion off of deficit, wouldn't they not have to increase this? Well, they'd have to cut 2 to really get to a balanced budget. Musk said he could cut 2, but this is 4 trillion. And so GOP budget resolution that passed the House this week increases debt limit from 36 to 40 trillion and spends enough dollars to increase the debt from 36 trillion to 56 trillion over the next 10 years. That's 2 trillion a year for 10 years. I thought Musk was going to cut 2 trillion. I don't see any cuts here. As I told you, I expect Donald Trump to be spending more money at the end of his term than he did at the beginning of his term. I expect the deficit to be higher, total spending to be higher. So we're talking about increasing the debt limit 36 to 40. We're talking about increasing the debt from 36 trillion to 56 trillion over 10 years. Massey continues, yay for tax cuts. He's being cynical there. He also says, I'm the only Republican who voted no. Good for you. It's pretty sad that people who claim to be fiscally responsible, Chip Roy, Dan Crenshaw, and others voted for this monstrosity. This is, I don't care how much Musk cuts by firing people. This is the budget. This is what will get spent. And this is increasing spending every single year for the next 10 years and running a deficit every single year of $2 trillion. So who is Musk kidding? Who is Trump kidding? That they care about government spending or they care about the country going bankrupt or they care about any of that? They don't. Power. As always, it's about power, looking good, saying the right things, beating up on what they perceive as somebody weak. They're like Andrew Tate, exploiting people. That's how they get their thrills. Finally, let's talk about, whoops, what happened? Whoop. No, I had this really nice graph. All right. Oh, it's not here. It's over there. Okay, ignore this. All right, let's show you this graph. This is the Canadian election. The Canadian election is coming out. Justin Trudeau is out. He won't run for premier as part of the Liberal Party. There was a lot of hope for the Conservatives. They have somebody who looked really good, Poilievre, who looked pretty promising, and a lot of you I know, and me too, were excited about the idea that the Prime Minister in Canada in the future would be this Poilievre guy who seems really good on a lot of issues, and seems like he stands up for himself. He doesn't seem like a MAGA guy. He seems like he's an independent thinker, and he seems good on energy. He seems good in the economy. He would really, if he does half of what he says, he'd be really good for Canada. And it looked like he was going to run away with it. And then Trump got into this spat of tariffs with Canada. And since then, the Liberal Party has been skyrocketing and the Conservatives have been plummeting because the Conservatives are being linked to Trump. For good reason or bad reason, doesn't matter. And the liberals are viewed as the ones who can stand up to Trump, particularly, I think, if Carney wins, and Carney is the guy who was the head of the Bank of England and then the head of the Bank of Canada, is considered having done a good job in both places. I'm skeptical, but having done a good job in both places, and considered somebody who can really stand up to Trump and somebody who knows economics. The other woman who's running for the premiership is Chrystia Freeland, who also is supposedly good in economics. She resigned because Trudeau wanted to get into huge, deficit spending, and she rejected that. So those two are running for the top of the Liberal ticket. But here's a graph. I mean, it's stunning, right? Let's see. There's the graph. That's the graph. Blue, I think it's a blue or black or whatever. The dark one is the Conservative Party. Red are the Liberals. And look at that. That is amazing. Now, the Liberal Party is also benefiting from weakness from the other parties, the orange and the blue. But the Conservative Party is coming down. The Liberal Party is coming way up. Okay, I meant Prime Minister. Yes, it's not Premier, Prime Minister. And when does an inflection point happen? 25% tariffs on Canada. Insulting Trudeau. Calling Canada the 51st state. That's when it happened. So Trump, by doing that, is helping the center-left, or left, really. Trudeau is way left. Maybe these guys are more center. Is helping the center-left, hurting somebody who would bring a much better economic policy to Canada. Maybe he doesn't want a strong Canada. He actually complained, Trump did. It was a press conference. He was asked about Canada. And he remarked, the Conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre, quote, his biggest problem is he's not a MAGA guy. That's the problem. Poilievre is not a MAGA guy. So Trump thinks that's a real problem. And he also called Chrystia Freeland terrible and a wacko. I guess we'll see what happens in the election in Canada and the impact that Trump has on the Canadian elections. But that is, I mean, correlation is not causation, but that is pretty striking. I can tell a story where the causation is Trump causing weakness of the Conservatives and strength to the Liberal Party. That is pretty bad. And if you live in Canada, sorry, our president did this to you. But don't let him. Let's see this graph reverse itself. Trump madness. By the way, those of you who thought that tariffs were just negotiating, and maybe they still are, who knows? He can change his mind every day. He announced today that no tariffs on Mexico and, maybe it was yesterday, Mexico and Canada are in. They will start on Monday in next week. And 25% Canada, 25% Mexico, 10% China. And by the way, very soon after that, there will be 25% on what do you call it? European Union. So another 25% of European Union. All, pretty lame. Really bad. Bad for America. Although this president is America first, this is all bad for America. All right, let's see what is going on here. Sorry. Yeah, let me close this window. Let me run that. All right, that is the news for Friday, February 28th. I had a few other topics, but I think I'll skip them. It's already gone late. And go to your Super Chat questions. I see there are quite a few of them. Thank you to all the Super Chatters. Really, really appreciate it. I expect we'll go into the third hour, so I am pushing for that, third hour target of 750. It's also the last day of the month, so this will determine YouTube's monthly contribution, not its contribution, your contribution, but the sum of it to the Yaron Brook show. So it'd be great if we can make our numbers on our monthly as well. Let's see. All right, so let's jump in. A few things. Oh, I saw something new that I need to deal with. All right, so as you know, Alex Epstein is a sponsor of this show, and Alex has a Substack. The Substack is alexepstein.substack.com. Alex is the world expert on all things energy, all things fossil fuels, all things climate change and environmentalism. He's also influential on the people within the Trump administration, I think, doing energy. So you get insight into actually one of the better areas in the Trump administration, maybe the best area in the Trump administration, which is energy. You'll get insight into that from Alex. So please go alexepstein.substack.com, subscribe. You'll get amazing talking points on how to defend your position, how to make the best arguments for this. The Ayn Rand Institute is also a sponsor of the Yaron Brook Show, and there's some important news today from the Institute, which regards OCON, Objectives Conferences 2025, which is going to be in Boston over the 4th of July. Can't think of a better place to be over the 4th of July weekend than Boston. They put on a great fireworks show. The whole vibe of the place is amazing. And of course, OCON is an amazing conference. Well, you can apply for a scholarship. Those of you who are, if you're a university, high school, or you're just studying Ayn Rand's philosophy on your own and you can't afford to come to the conference, but you are serious about her ideas, her philosophy. You really take her ideas seriously. You're studying them. Again, even if you're doing it on your own, you're eligible to apply for a travel scholarship to ensure you're able to come. So this is a scholarship to attend the conference. That I will be there. Many of the leading objectivist intellectuals will be at this conference. I think plus 400-500 other objectivists. It's just a great time. It's fun. You'll meet great people. You will hear great lectures. I'm doing a talk on Western civilization at the conference. The opening talk, I believe, at the opening reception. So please apply. Any students serious about Ayn Rand's ideas, apply for a scholarship for OCON 2025. Again, conference will be from the 1st to the 5th of July this year. And the deadline for the scholarship is April 18th. April 18th at midnight Pacific time. So you can go all the way to 3 a.m. in the East Coast. To get information about it, go to aynrand.org/start here. aynrand.org/start here. All right, and friend Harper reminds me that Alex is actually posting on Twitter his appearance in front of Congress in a congressional committee, in a congressional hearing, where he stood up to the congressmen, talked back to them, stood on principle, did not give in. He was fantastic. Please go to Twitter, find Alex's stuff, and retweet it, share it across the board. And it's probably on Facebook and other places. Share. All right, a reminder to you guys, like the show. It costs you zilch to like the show. Just press the like button. If you can, share it. That is huge. And of course, support us financially. You can do a sticker. Sticker doesn't cost you anything. Just a sticker would be amazing to support, show value for value. You're obviously listening because you're getting a value from the show. Express that value by putting a sticker together and supporting the show financially. You can also use that sticker to ask a question. It's called the Super Chat, and that's great because then you get to help dictate the content of the show. Thank you, Dilkgeet. First Super Chat ever on the stream, and it's $20. And it's not even a Super Chat, it's a sticker that says thank you. Really, really, really appreciate that. We've got a bunch of other stickers throughout the show today we've received, so we're doing great in terms of progress towards our goal for the evening. But please keep on doing stickers. That'll be great. Asking questions, that'll be great. We can go on for at least another hour So keep it up, and we'll keep the show going. The more questions you ask, the longer the show is. And finally, if you really want kind of permanence, value for value, that is really appreciated. I mean, all your contributions are appreciated, but this is, I can plan based on this. I can foresee it in the future. Then please consider going on Patreon or on PayPal and making a monthly contribution, a steady every month, $25 every single month, $100 every single month, $500 every single month, whatever the amount you want. It could be $5 every single month. And it's great because that is income that I know is there. Remember, the show cannot exist. Cannot exist. I'd have to find another job without the support from you guys. You guys make this show possible. And Patreon and PayPal is a great way to just support the show. You don't have to think about it. You just make a monthly contribution. It's there. It's automatic payment. And then you've done your value for value thing. So please consider that. Dave just came in with $100 as a sticker. Thank you, Dave. And John did a sticker. Thank you, John. We're only $63 away from our goal. So Dave just bumped us way close to that goal. All right, let's jump in with the questions so we don't run too late today. I do have dinner plans at some point. So let's jump in and answer your questions. And let's do this. James Bond says, thank you, Yaron, for defending the good, the moral. Thank you, James. I appreciate you appreciating me defending the good. It's tough, particularly when you see the chat, when you see all the haters of the good, all the enemies of the good out there, and they have a huge voice, left and right, huge voice. It means a lot to me when you guys appreciate what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. Pierre Clement with his third super chat ever just came in with $50. Thank you, Pierre. Really, really, really appreciate that. And Silvano says also for $50, I missed a few of your previous shows, so here's $50. Thanks for the great show. P.S. Every day I'm vindicated for not voting for the Cheeto in chief. You and me, Silvanos, excellent. I really appreciate the support, and I appreciate the fact that you are here every single show doing something, and when you miss a few shows, you make it up. That is great. Thank you. So I appreciate it. Let's see, David, and again, Pierre, thank you for the stick of $50. Thank you for third super chat. That's amazing. David, for almost $50, 25,000 Costa Rica something. How to explain the silence of congressmen like Tom Cotton and other nouveau Reganites not calling out Trump's betrayal? Cowardice? I think it has to be cowardice. I don't think you can explain it otherwise. I mean, his own Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, was a huge Ukraine supporter and very, very vocal anti-Putin, and he's completely coward to Trump. I think Cotton is at his best with foreign policy. He's a little dangerous to some of his domestic, but in foreign policy he's very good. And he's silent. And it is disappointing. It's really, I think Tillis actually did something in Congress, pro-Ukraine recently, kind of implicitly criticizing Trump. But even he did it mildly. They're all afraid that Trump will go after them, destroy them politically. They all think that by selling their soul to Trump, they will guarantee a rosy political future. It really is sickening. It's sickening. This is the Trump zombie syndrome that I keep talking about. The number of people who know better, who not should know better, theoretically know better. No, the number of people who actually know better. Is horrific to see them cower before this, what is it, Cheetos in chief? This just horrible human being that is the president of the United States. It is sad. David also asks, why must we balance the budget if MMT says that we can print what need as long as we keep inflation below 3%? Well, I mean, but that's the contradiction, right? You can't print money endlessly without inflation going above 3%, or about 4%, about 5%, or about whatever percent. What causes inflation is the printing of the money. We've talked about this. Did a whole show that you funded, I think, on inflation. MMT is complete nuts. It's completely anti-science, anti-economics. It's anti-economics. It negates economics. And it's yeah. So it's really sad to have people like that venerated by the left mostly, but even on the right, there are people who believe this. So yes, MMT is wrong. Printing money creates inflation. Even Elon Musk keeps tweeting about this. You know, deficits create inflation because they have to be paid for by either raising taxes or printing money. And we know the preference of politicians is never to raise taxes, so it means printing money, which means inflation. This is why you have to cut spending. All right. Let's try to get through these questions. Oh, because more just flowing in. Thank you, Ahmad, for the $20. Appreciate the sticker. Michael says, is there a real possibility the entire Western world collapses into Nazism? Hitler was 100 years ahead of his time. I doubt it. I don't think whatever happens to the Western world, it's going to collapse into Nazism. It'll collapse into maybe some kind of form of fascism. But there certainly is the possibility of that if the U.S. goes, what is going to hold up the rest of the West? It's going to be very difficult for the rest of the West to resist it. It's possible, and I'm calling on Europe to find within it the ideas that, and they're in Europe, to resist this MAGA, semi-proto-fascist tendency that is happening all around us in the United States, although it's happening in Europe as well. So there is a possibility. I don't think it'll take the form of Nazism. It'll take some other form. It won't be quite the same, but it will be real. I've talked about this for ages, I've talked about the fact that the United States is going towards authoritarianism under the banner of religion and a flag. And Europe will do it under the banner of taking care of the Muslims, under the banner of immigration. It's been obvious for a long time, and it's happening before our eyes. And it looks like it's going to happen in one way or another. It's not exactly Nazism, but the equivalent. And we'll see. We're fighting to resist it, and we'll keep fighting to resist it. Oyvind, truly disturbing to watch JD and Trump, horrible attitude, and knowing JD will probably be the GOP nominee next. Hope Europe truly will step up for Ukraine. I hope so. Just to make you feel good, it might not be JP. It might be Don Jr., Trump Jr., and he's even worse in Ukraine than JD is. He is, explicitly, unequivocally, unapologetically pro-Putin. So MAGA and the Republican Party have a couple of choices of really, really, really bad people to replace Trump when the time comes. And who knows when that will be, when Trump leaves office. Jason, could parents face charges if their unvaccinated child dies of measles despite a free vaccine? Would it defer for a rare disease with a costly vaccine? I don't think so. I don't think you would face charges. At the end of the day, measles kills very rarely. It kills, but it kills very rarely. And I don't think that it's child abuse, the kind of child abuse that I think parents would face criminal prosecution over. They have to suffer the death of a child. And they suffer the irrationality of their own. But, the child suffers, and that's horrible. But I don't think we can come into a regime where say, what probability of death justifies a criminal charges against somebody? I think you would have to have a disease that basically killed a significant percentage of the people who get it in order to justify that it was child abuse to that extent. They are genuinely confused but honest people who buy into MAGA anti-Ukrainian argument. Could be good to address them in a way that isn't misrepresented as condescending. But you are doing great, and I appreciate you, Yaron. You see, but I have. If you take any particular segment I've done, sure, I'm kind of building on a body of work that exists for 3 years. You can find my lengthy lecture on Ukraine. It's about an hour and a half, including Q&A, where I discuss a lot of the aspects and a lot of the arguments they make. I analyze the situation. I analyze what's happening and why it's happening. And I analyze why they should be supported. I did this early on in the Ukraine war, but I also did it in a lecture. It's available on YouTube. If any of you want to, find a way to approach people who are MAGA in Ukraine who are innocent, who are not really, are just mistaken, then there are enormous amounts of resources that I produced where I don't take the kind of tone I took today, where I kind of assume that people have listened to me and no, now maybe that's a mistake. Maybe to gain new audiences, I have to go back through everything from ground zero every single time. I don't think I could do that every single time. So I encourage people to go and investigate the resources that are available out there and to find it. It's very hard to believe. I understand people who say America shouldn't get involved. All right. I don't, because, you're basically saying America should be neutral when it comes to something that involves actual liberty and actual freedom, which I don't believe should happen. But let's say we shouldn't, we're running huge deficits, our economy is in shambles, we're so status, we shouldn't give financial support to Ukraine. Okay. How about moral support? And then it breaks down. Then you discover that it's not about money. It never was about money. They like Putin. They're motivated by liking Putin, even if they don't completely realize it themselves. Because as soon as you take the money off the table, they still won't support Ukraine. Moral support is important. They'll go into World War III bullshit and stuff like that. Larry says, bravo, Yaron. I double down on your critique of Trump and Vance. My grandparents immigrated from a village in Ukraine in early 1990s. In early 1900s, not 1990s, early 1900s. Thank you, Larry. It means a lot. I appreciate that. And yes, I mean, there are a lot of Americans who are Russian in origin or Ukrainian in origin, but who understand who the good guys and who the bad guys are in this conflict. At the very least, they know that. D, thank you for the sticker. Nefal, thank you for the sticker. Really appreciate it. Iron Meerkat, I think you can say beyond any shadow of a doubt that Tulsi Gabbard pissed on Trump in some Moscow nightclub back in the aughts, and Putin has video evidence somewhere in the Kremlin's basement. Certainly a possibility. Given their character, certainly a possibility. The fact that Tulsi is now head of all our intelligence agencies, and she has been a fan of Russia and Putin for a long time, suggests to you where this administration's head is. David, thank you, David. Third super chat. Did Zelensky lose an opportunity to give Trump a performative win without giving too much in terms of concessions? Maybe, he should have stayed quiet. Maybe he should have allowed them to, Vance to stomp all over him. But that's exactly not the kind of person Zelensky is. And the reality is, if it hadn't come out now, it would have come out next week. It would have come out in 2 weeks. Trump does not support Ukraine. He does not support Ukraine. Period. Exclamation point. And, Zelensky could have played it differently, sure. But that's not him. Just like him dressing up in a suit going to the White House was not him. Since the war began, Zelensky has dressed in military, what do you call it? God, I forget the name of of what he's dressed, but fatigues, right? Military fatigues. That's his look since the beginning of the war, in sympathies to the people fighting for the country. I think it's a good stance for him to take. It's symbolically important. I think the Ukrainians really appreciate it. He's not partying out there. He's not going in suit and tie to cocktail parties and schmoozing with Trump and Vance. And I think to him, I think he felt like Trump is anti-him anyway. So he has integrity. And he's not just going to allow Trump and Vance, and nobody like Vance, to steamroll him. And good for him. I think this makes him more heroic, even if in the short run, it hurts his prospects. I think in the long run, he wins for this. And this was inevitable, because this is where Vance and Trump are. Trump can shift and can pretend to be nice and pro-Ukraine and anti-Russia. He can change every week. Vance can't. Vance is much more, quote, principled. Vance hates Ukraine. Vance is committed to Putin, ideologically, philosophically. Vance, together with his idols in the Christian conservative movement, together with his idols in the Catholic integralists, view Putin as a good guy, as defending Western values, standing up to the hated left. And he has Trump's ear. And as long as he does, and Musk, for whatever reason, and we can speculate about why Musk is like this, is completely on Vance's side. So Zelensky never had a chance. And it's just a question of when it would come out. And you know what? I think it's better for Ukraine and Europe that America's off the table. Forget about America. You have no choice at this point. Forget about America. Now, let's see what the Europeans will do. That is it, right? Let's see what the Europeans will do. Because, yeah, America's now off the table. So now the pressure's on. Rubber hits the road. Let's see what they do. Bill Gates, first super chat, I think. That's great. Thank you. Many American presidents have chosen not to address tough problems and kick the can down the road to the next generation. Is or is not this in their long-term rational self-interest? No. I mean, because they know, deep down, they know they are failures. Look, rational self-interest, if you understand what it means, and if you understand the human psyche, if you understand what happiness and what success in life means, lying, cheating, stealing, even if you get away with it, are not good for you. They're bad for you. Pretending to have solved a problem and never solving it, ignoring it, kicking the can down the road, you know that. It'll eat at you for the rest of your life. And this is why you find me a politician who's happy. Happiness is impossible for a modern politician because they live on lies. They live on deception. They live on evasion. They live off of kicking the can down the road, not just presidents, congressmen. And this is why they all look as pathetic as Bill Clinton. They're not happy, successful human beings. They don't have self-esteem. They've got thin skins. They don't embrace and enjoy life. See, rational self-interest is not superficial success. Trump's happy is the funniest thing ever. Trump is a miserable, pathetic human being. Him and Putin are two of the most miserable people I've ever seen. Just look at his face. The best expressions on Trump's face was when Macron, who has the stature and the ability to correct Trump on the fly, oh my God, Trump looks so miserable. But he's a miserable, pathetic, low self-esteem, low confidence human being. This is what makes him a bully. Self-esteem is something earned through achievement. These politicians haven't achieved anything other than winning elections, which is not an achievement in and of itself. They haven't achieved anything in reality. They haven't made, in any sense, their world better. They haven't attained any real values, any pro-life values. And therefore, they cannot be happy. They cannot have self-esteem. They cannot flourish as human beings. Self-esteem is required for happiness. Politicians have very little self-esteem. Very little self-esteem. And Trump is one of the lowest self-esteem people I've ever seen in a public stage. You can tell by his thin skin. No, he's just, he has no self-esteem and is not a happy person. He has a miserable marriage. He has a miserable life. He's a cheater, deceiver, liar in every aspect of his life. And he knows it. And you can't live a good life. Can't. Doesn't work that way. It's not how human beings live, survive. John Kish says, and I agree completely, Zelensky is an even bigger hero in my eyes now. Me too. Mine too. He stood up to the bullies. And it would have been easy to appease them, to get the deal signed, to try to get them to love him. But he stood up to them because he's a good guy, because he's a hero. And he has integrity. Thank you, John. Thank you, Rand. Rand with $50 sticker. Really, really appreciate the support. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate the support today. You guys are doing yourselves with the support. This is fantastic. All right, Michael, were you a fan of Gene Hackman and Michelle Trachtenberg? Odd they died on the same day. I don't know who Michelle Trachtenberg is. Oh, is that his wife? I'm not a fan of hers because I don't know her music. I know she was a concert pianist. It's probably not odd that they died together. Because it's probably caused either by they died from the same cause, a gas leak or something like that, or she committed suicide after he died, that she didn't want to live after she lost him. So her body was found with pills all around her, so she could have taken pills to kill herself. She was an actress. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Okay, sorry. I'm talking about Gene Hackman's wife, whose name I can't remember, who was a concert pianist. I don't know Michelle, so I don't know her work. I wasn't a fan of Buffy the Vampire Killer, though I know a lot of my friends were and my kids were, but I never got into it, so I don't know. Gene Hackman, definitely a fan. I liked his work. I enjoyed his acting. In a variety of different movies. I really enjoyed movies with Gene Hackman in them because he brought a certain gravitas, and he was a good actor. He was a real character actor and really good. Not kind of a not the charismatic leading man, but the guy who did the tough roles, and he was really good. So I liked Hackman. Sad to see him die, but of course he was 95 years old. So good for him for living that long, and it seemed like he lived pretty well that long in a beautiful home in Santa Fe, in the mountains above Santa Fe. Michael, will ARI intellectuals soon be able to write opinion pieces for the Washington Post? I certainly hope so. We certainly plan on submitting some of our op-eds to the Washington Post. We're gearing up to do that. We're gearing up generally to write more, I think, op-eds. And I hope the editorial standards are such that we can get in. I hope our writers write good enough, and that the Washington Post the Wall Street Journal never was really willing to accept our op-eds because they don't want anything philosophical. I mean, they've told us this. If you write something on free markets, it has to be purely utilitarian. As soon as you bring in anything philosophical, purely economic, as soon as it being philosophical, they will stop taking it, even if they like the general theme. I hope the Washington Post is more open about that because we write philosophical op-eds, not pure economic ones. Michael, isn't crypto a complete scam because of the speculator's profit comes from the next speculator's capital, whereas an investor profit comes from increased productivity financed with his investment? It depends. I hate to throw crypto all under the same bus. crypto can be productive. And as its value goes up, it can increase productivity. And it can actually go into, crypto can be used to raise capital. Crypto can be used, to fund projects, and it can be used to reduce transaction costs and move money out of authoritarian countries. It can be used for productive purposes. Some crypto is clearly a scam. Trump coins, Millet coins, sadly, are clearly scams. But I wouldn't say all crypto is such. Crypto has a use. It's just they haven't made the case about its use in a strong enough way. They're too focused on being money, being stuff like that, which it's not. Think about what it really is useful for, and focus on that. Michael also asked, you said we can't inject ourselves into politics before the educational work is done, but wouldn't a charismatic objectives running for public office speed up the educational process? Maybe if you think that the educational process can be boiled down to sound bites, because sound bites is what politicians have. It might be a way to get people to read more Rand. But the reality is that the more people know about objectivism, the less they like it in our culture. It's not the case that the more they read about it, the more they like it, the more they support it. The more they read about it, most people, the less they like it. So it's true that we will get, if somebody ran to politics and he was very charismatic and could get in the media and could get in front of a lot of people, they would increase book sales. But, we had unbelievable book sales during the Tea Party. So there's no alternative but to do the work. Now, maybe somebody can like Millet, can do the work and then run for president. That's possible. But you got to do the work. You got to educate people. You got to get them to realize what the right ideas are. And then you can leverage that to run for president. Once the idea is already in the culture, it's very difficult without it. And you won't get on the media. They will pay you no attention. They'll marginalize you. They'll think you're some kook. There are lots of kooks who are charismatic. But the thing will happen to an objectivist who's charismatic and goes out there and tries to run for president is everybody will label them a kook and ignore them. Michael says, is Singapore still kind of a fascist regime even though they allow free markets, individuals have no civil liberties? They don't. It's not that they have no civil liberties. They have reduced civil liberties. I wouldn't call them, it's an authoritarian state. I don't think it's particularly fascist. Fascist is where the government controls business. Singapore is very good at not controlling business. It's authoritarian of a different kind, not fascist, not socialist. And it's authoritarian with a large degree of freedom in spite of that. Just don't criticize the regime, mostly. And don't chew gum in the street. Rajiv says, your comments of today's horrible Oval Office fight between Trump, Vance, and Zelensky, please, thank you in advance. Yeah, I provided those comments. That was obviously before I said them, or you can rewind and find them. The whole first part of the show was my comments on that. Arum says, have you watched the Last Kingdom series? It's very much focused on values and choices. Seems to have an overall positive view of human nature. I really enjoyed it. Is this the one with the zombies? I don't like zombie movies. I really can't tolerate zombie movies. So I probably didn't. I think I started watching it, and as soon as I discovered there were zombies in it, I left it. But if it's a different series, then yeah, I'm looking for another Korean show. I did finish Startup, and it was very good. I don't think it's as good as some of the other shows, but it's very good. So I'm still on a thumbs up to South Korean shows. Yeah, Last of Us is a zombie show, and somehow I enjoyed Last of Us in spite of the zombies. So maybe I can overcome the zombies in the right circumstances. Maybe I should try The Last Kingdom. Ryan, the Jews during the Holocaust had no cards. What kind of trash disregards morality and decency in favor of having cards? The kind of deal-making trash that is president of the United States today. All that matters is, can you make a deal? A complete and utter 100% unequivocal pragmatist. The worst pragmatist we've ever had as president of the United States. Drin, embracing Andrew Tate while shaming Zelensky. Evil. Yep, it is. I warned you guys. JJ Jigbees, Trump was treating Zelensky like a kid having a playground spat with a school bully. Yep, Trump is a bully. Maribens, or Peter Rothlein, writing to Maribens. Is Peter Rothlein her boyfriend? My courageous darling, obviously he is. They're coming out with their actual names now. My courageous darling, Megan. Let's follow Zubrin, not Sagan, by driving on Mars with nuclear cars through all of the Mariner Basin. Ooh, it's a poem. Let's follow Zubrin, not Sagan, by driving on Mars with nuclear cars through all of the Mariner Basin. Cool. Dawn says, Yaron, would you ever consider a co-host sidekick for your show? Sure, I'd consider it. Let me know who you guys have in mind. Eyal says, Iran has now has enough. I mean, how long would we have to go? I mean, I'm going 2.5 hours just by myself. With a co-host, we'd have to go 6 hours. It would be insane. I mean, as it is, I don't get to say everything I think. Iran now has enough uranium for a nuke. 6 nukes, actually. It has enough uranium in kilograms for a nuke, for 6 nukes. Is there anything left to do to stop them, or is it too late? What is the likelihood that anyone will take action? It's not too late. You can bomb them from developing the delivery mechanism. Israel bombed in October, bombed the facility where they were building and researching the delivery warhead, set them back a few months or maybe a year, I don't know. You can still prevent them from getting more uranium. You can kill all the centrifuges. Will anyone take action? If you mean military action, my prediction, and it has been for a long time, is no. We will wake up one day and Iran will have a nuke. And Israel and the United States will have to live with that or die with that. Bradley, what is your prediction for the EU and Ukraine? Are they going to rise to the occasion and put Putin in his place? Or is he going to let Poland, or is it going to be left to Poland and Finns? I don't know. I think they're going to make an effort. The EU, I think they're going to do something. Remember, and this is hard to overemphasize, and people I don't think understand this, Putin is very weak right now. The thing holding Putin up right now is Trump. Putin without Trump is very weak. So it's quite possible that they can hurt Putin a lot, even if they don't live up to their full potential. But I do think there's enough energy right now in Germany, in France, in Poland, and in Scandinavia, and the Scandinavian countries, to stand up to Putin, to do something significant. I hope it manifests itself. I hope it becomes a reality. But it does seem like the energy's there. Not everywhere. I don't know about Spain, Portugal. Certainly the Eastern European countries are very, very mixed on this. And it's going to be a fight even in Germany because a large percent of the population voted for AfD, which is very pro-Putin. So we will see. We will see. Justin, would Bezos have done that if Kamala was president? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe Trump's victory has made Bezos and maybe others feel freer to actually express who they really are. Maybe they feel like cancel culture has been reduced significantly by Trump, and that has made it possible for them to do this. Hard to tell. Somebody would have to ask Bezos, but it's quite possible that, as I said, Trump will do some positive things. He'll have some positive effects. There's no question. Overall, he is an unmitigated disaster. Andrew, and I've explained why many, many times, and happy to explain again if somebody asks me. Andrew, the right claims Trump is an open president by virtue of how much he speaks publicly, but Putin blabs on and on. So do the Iranian government functionaries. A tactic some rulers have is saying a lot while still evading. Yes, I mean, Chinese, Xi talks a lot. Yeah, Trump is talks a lot. He's not open in a sense that half the time he's lying. Half the time he doesn't know what he thinks anyways. He's just rambling. But yeah, he communicates daily on an ongoing basis about everything. But it's meaningless because he changes his mind all the time, because he lies all the time, and because most of his ideas are really bad. So the fact that he communicates bad ideas doesn't help. Iron Meerkat. This is one conspiracy I do believe. Epstein didn't kill himself. I have no idea. I think he did, but I understand why you would think he didn't. Apollo, hi, Yaron. What's the best way to apologize and make amends for something one has said? I'm asking for a friend. Thank you, Apollo Zeus. I think it's to basically explain to the person, is to say you're sorry, but articulate exactly what you did wrong and why you were wrong, so that the other person has an understanding that you have really understood your mistake or your breach, and offer to make amends. That's all you can do. But there's no guarantee your friend will accept it. There's no commandment to accept an apology. There's no guarantee. It depends on what the breach was and in what circumstances. Some breaches are just unforgivable. And different people have different thresholds for forgiveness. Completely rational. Makanu, maintain spending and tax levels versus maintain spending but cut taxes. In this binary scenario with no spending cuts support, which is better and why? I'd say keep taxes high. Because I think that taxes high are the only incentive you're ever going to get politically to get people to cut spending. People can ignore deficits. They can't ignore taxes. The economic effects are marginal in either case. That is, cutting taxes or when you don't cut spending doesn't help the economy. So keeping taxes high or actually increasing taxes actually puts more burden on the population and makes them actually pay for the spending they're advocating for. And it makes it much easier for a politician in the future to come and say, yeah, we have to cut your taxes, but the only way we can cut your taxes is to cut the spending. Justin, maybe Bezos will become like Elon. That's bad. Yeah, it will be awful if he does. I hope not. There are no indications in his character that he would be, but maybe. Apollo Zeus, what do you think of satire as an artistic medium? If it's targeted at the right thing, I think satire can be historical. I think it's good. It's focused on laughing at, and if you're laughing at the right things worthy of laughing at, then it can be very powerful. Megan is replying, I guess no. This is regarding my biotech startup. Advised me not to lose my passion. How do I do that? My producer cells are being total brats. Well, I can't control your producer cells. And, that is kind of a problem that you have to figure out. Why are your producer cells behaving the way they are? That should be a challenge. That is where your passion should be focused on. What the F is going on with my producer cells? Now, you might be talking about something different, producer cells as your cells as a producer. Yeah, but then I need more clarity. Let's see. Ollie W., the Tate Brothers travel ban was suddenly being lifted and they fly to the U.S. Very strange. And a lot of rumors of behind-the-scenes work with the Trump administration. Do you have any thoughts? Yep, gave them in the middle of the show. You can find them in the segment on the Tate Brothers. What does Alex Epstein think of using Reagan's spinning in his grave as free energy? He probably supports it completely. But Reagan, no question, is spinning in that grave, and there is a lot of free energy that can be derived from that. Absolutely. Doug says Gene Hackman has died. What do you remember about his career? I don't remember specific movies, but I remember him being a powerful actor. I always enjoyed his acting. I enjoyed his characters. No matter what he played, it was a pleasure to watch him. I think he's one of the better actors of his generation. That generation, he was born in 1930, so he's been around for a long, long time. But let's just look at some of the movies he made. The French Connection was great. Mississippi Burning, that is a classic. It's a great, great movie. I mean, I really, really enjoyed that movie. I encourage you to watch it. Conversation, I think that was Francis Ford Coppola's first movie. Very powerful, very intense, very good, good movie. What else did I see? The Firm, I saw, that's pretty good. Enemy of the State, pretty good. Hoosiers, the basketball movie, that was excellent. Crimson Tide, he was really good in Crimson Tide. Opposite, what's his name? Denzel Washington. Young Frankenstein, of course, that was a funny role. What else? Bonnie and Clyde, that goes way back. Yeah, he played in a lot of The Package. I remember I saw that movie. I can't remember it, but I remember seeing The Package. Wyatt Earp, he was good in Wyatt Earp. I guess The French Connection 2. A Bitch Too Far, that's a long time ago. Yeah, a lot of good movies. Some movies I don't know, but a lot of good movies. Yeah, good actor. Good actor. All right, it's hey, Yaron, should objectivists create regular weekly social events in person to replace, outcompete the social functions of churches and communities? Yes, yes, yes. I'm a huge fan of objectivists socializing with one another. A good way of doing that, I used to do that. Everywhere I went, I did that. We had movie nights in Austin. We had get-togethers. We had study groups for OPA. When I lived in San Jose in California, we had regular movie nights on Fridays, always in my home. So yes, absolutely. I'm big fan of objectivists having social gatherings, partially to create communities, to replace the communities that you lose by being outside of the mainstream. Brownie, do you think the significance of Musk buying Twitter is underrated from the perspective of promoting free speech globally? Underrated soft power move that has completely shifted the course of history? No, I don't think that. I don't think it has anything to do with free speech. I mean, Twitter is not a free speech. There's no such thing as a free speech platform. A private platform has standards. Elon Musk has standards. Some people are in, some people are not. Some people he bans, which is fine. I think he should probably ban more people than he does. I don't think private platforms are responsible for free speech. The speech that is increased because of Twitter getting bought is right-wing speech. Left-wing speech hasn't increased. It's actually left-ex. It's gone elsewhere. Yeah, no, I don't think it is a monumentous event. I don't think it's that important. I think it's part of this vibe shift towards MAGA. And I don't think the vibe shift towards MAGA is a good thing. Even if, at the margin, it'll have certain implications for free speech. I think that when push comes to shove, Musk does not believe in free speech. He does not, for example, he goes after his advertisers don't have free speech. He's suing them for not advertising on Twitter, but that's free speech. They have a right not to advertise on Twitter. So, yeah, I do not buy it. Shazbot, Gene Hackman's last words, I was going to make espresso. How do they know that? Nobody knows that. I guess that's a line out of some movie, maybe. Whatever. I don't know, Shazbot, but going to make espresso is a good thing. That's a good way to die if this is how he died. On your way to make espresso, happy, comfortable at 95, vibrant, and just dying like that. That's the way to die. The way to die is to be healthy and good and then just die. That's the way to do it. Oh, God. Who are your favorite movie villainesses and why? Villainesses. Female villains in movies. God. These are the kind of questions you shouldn't... I'm not good at answering. Not on the fly. My memory doesn't... I've told you this in the past. It doesn't deliver to me. Who are great female villains. There's, I can see them. There's that movie about the two actresses, the older one who's dying, and this is an old movie, but brilliant, with Betty Davis, I think, and she is out to get the young up and coming actress. Anybody remember what the name of that one is? Who's another? Give me some movie names that have villainesses in it. Sunset Boulevard. Was it Sunset Boulevard? Maybe it is Sunset Boulevard. Maybe. I think it was another one. All About Eve. All About Eve. Anyway. Yeah. The nurse in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. There's a villainess for you. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. All About Eve. I think you're right. I think it's All About Eve. So go watch All About Eve. Great movie in terms of actresses, in terms of power. Really, really good. Misery, she's a really bad. Nurse Ratched is, I think, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. All right, to be continued, I think, in that one. Do you find women who are martial artists or who can fight well attractive? I mean, it doesn't make them less attractive that they can fight well. And it doesn't make them more attractive that they can fight well. I like women who can stand up for themselves and defend themselves. I think that's a good thing. But their ability to inflict violence is not a attractive enhancing or attracting depleting standard for me. There are other things that make a woman attractive or not. Ron says best podcast on YouTube. Thank you, Ron. Now we need to get the numbers to match the prestige. How would you grade Trump's negotiation skills? F? I think they're F. He's the negotiation skills of a bully. Justin, please watch The Brutalist. It's like the Fountainhead. I will when it comes to streaming. As soon as it comes to streaming, I will watch it. Andrew, one who recognizes Rourke as a hero should recognize Trump as a scoundrel. Absolutely. I'll second, double, triple, quadruple that one. So yes, shocking that people who think Trump is a hero. God. I hope the last few weeks with his treatment of Ukraine and Zelensky have woken people up. I don't know that that's happened, but I would hope. Thank you, everybody. You are being fantastic. Thank you to all the super chatters. Thank you to all of you being there so that I could rant about the things that I want to rant about anyway. This is great. I get it out of my system, and then I can be happy the rest of the day and ignore this stuff because I have ranted about it. So I appreciate you allowing me to do that. And even supporting me financially to do that. Thanks for everybody. I will see you probably tomorrow afternoon, 2 p.m. East Coast time, probably for a positive show if the stars align. If not, I'll see you guys on Monday. But I'm hoping to see you on all tomorrow. On Monday, we will have an interview in the evening with Muhammad Ali, a graduate student in philosophy, objectivist, budding intellectual. That I think you will enjoy, so join me for that. Not the Muhammad Ali of boxing, the Muhammad Ali of the intellect. Bye, everybody, and I'll see you maybe tomorrow, if not Monday. Bye. Have a great